What's up, everyone? Welcome to the CardFellas show, episode 3. We've made it this long. We've made it this far. No one said it would last. Here we are back for episode 3. Chris, how's it going tonight?
Every day, I can't believe this is the way my life turned out.
Read that which way, every way you want, right?
Right. I wake up every day.
Living the dream, man.
Here we are.
Living the dream. Well, we got a good one today. We've talked about 1980 Topps basketball, and we talked about 1990 Score baseball. Those are the two sets we've dissected. Today we're going to talk football, and it's a set that I think you and I both looked at each other and said, we need to talk about that one, just because it was an awesome year for football.
Indeed.
The Chicago Bears were the talk of the town. Dan Marino, John Elway were fresh on the scene. San Francisco 49ers were about to become a thing. We're talking about 1985 Topps football.
Right.
Why do you like that set, man? What was up with that set? Why did it pop for you?
I think we picked it, and I got so much stuff to talk about with that season. I've got some awesome notes on it, some stuff that's unbelievable, and we'll get to that, I think, at some point. But I think the big thing with that set is just the design. I mean, it's the black borders, the horizontal.
Don't give too much away. We'll get there. Don't give too much away. But
all right.
We always start out the show with the cool, odd, or otherwise, and I don't want to give anything away with the set dissect. But I'm going to tell you real quickly about something that I thought was cool, and it continues to be the PSA allocation. You know, I talked about it last week on the show, and I love the way that they're doing it and distributing some of the allocations for a cheaper level of card. They're giving away 5 cards for $50 a card, you know, but you have to go in a virtual waiting room. There's a little bit of a wait and see if you get an allocation to your club, collectors club membership. I've taken advantage of this a couple times, like I said, but here's the interesting thing. And the thing that I think is cool, the first allocation that I won, I sent my cards in, and already they're in stage 5, which is assembly, after 1 month of being checked in at PSA. So it gives me a lot of hope and optimism that PSA is going to continue doing this, and they're going to start lowering the price. That's my hope. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the PSA's decision, but that's something I think that they're going to do. They're going to start limiting the number of cards that come in so they can get them out quicker. And you're starting to see that with this $50 5-card allocation. So I think it's good news again for the hobby. I think it's going to get people back interested in whether you like it or not, the flipping world. But I think we're in the steps in the right direction towards getting our cards graded at a more affordable cost. So that's what I find cool.
Yeah, it needs to get there. And I think at this point, a lot of people are like, why don't you finish the backlog before you bring more cards in? But I think it's a cash flow thing for them at this point. They can't empty their warehouse and then start business again. I think they got to kind of slowly start business as they're still finishing up what's in that backlog. I know I've got an order there that's been in grading now for about 2 months from almost exactly 1 year ago. So
I think this $50 thing is a guinea pig to see how fast they can get through them. But like you said, they need to get that cash flow. And so I understand the debate over, well, get my old cards out first, because I have cards that I've sent there that have been there for 8-9 months that are not even in grading yet. So, I mean, there's a gap there that if I'm a customer looking at this going, boy, I don't like this. But to me, this is kind of the guinea pig stage for this allocation. I think it's just going to move towards the cheaper route for getting your cards graded. So I see both edges, both sides of the sword. I get it. I'm in the same situation. I have cards sitting there with, I've said it before, my 13 Deshaun Watsons are sitting there. So I am all in favor of figuring things out, trial and error, good process changes. I think PSA will get there.
Yeah, the thing that I saw, and it's really, I guess, a little bit old news. It happened earlier in February, but they had Michael Rubin, who is the chairman of Fanatics, on Yahoo Finance again earlier in February. And I actually just kind of watched the full interview this week. And one of the interesting things that he was talking about is, everybody wants to know what's going to happen when Fanatics takes over the sports card deal.
Right.
They have the licensing for football, for basketball, for baseball. So they're basically taking over for Topps and Panini in those sports. What is going to happen? What are they going to do? And it was interesting. He kind of laid it out, and they're really planning on taking a top-down approach. I think they're planning on, being the manufacturer of these cards, being the licensee. But one of the things that was interesting, and it's something that I think we heard a lot about during the pandemic, was the distributors, and a lot of people felt like they were actually selling to the secondary market instead of sending the cards to where they're supposed to be. And this interview with Ruben, he basically said that they're going to change the model. I don't think that those people will be involved anymore. They're going to go direct, not only to consumer, but direct to the card shops as well. I think the direct-to-consumer stuff is what's a little scary to a lot of people, is like,
yes.
Are these cards actually going to go to shops, or are they just going to do like what they're doing with their other parts of their business where they just go direct-to-consumer? So one thing's for sure, the current distribution model is going to change. But the most interesting part for me, and it's something that I think you and I are going to talk about when we're done talking about the 85 Topps football set, is one of the reporters asked him about the cyclical nature of the industry. Right now we're in this boom time, but it wasn't long ago. It wasn't what it is now. And the thing that he said, which was really very, very interesting to me, was that, he believes that this industry is about a $10 billion, maybe $15 billion industry in sports cards. And he says there's basically zero marketing spend. And they plan to change that. They are going to market. And he was talking about like 10xing the amount of collectors out there by getting aggressive in the marketing and making sports cards cool again, and not just something that old 45-year-old dudes do.
Yeah, right. And I think it is cool again. I think one of the things you do, and that's very interesting stuff. I'll have to go listen to that. But I think one of the things that you do get a little bit of caution when it comes to the hobby is the flipping. People looking to make a profit, and but that's part of the hobby, right? That's part of it as well. And I think some of these kids have grown up in this industry of industries of flipping sneakers, and now they're looking at cards as maybe something that they can flip and make money too. So I think you're going to. I like where the approach is, marketing and getting more people involved, but I think that's only going to stretch out the hobby and the flipping market, which say what you will. I think it's positive. I think it's great. More people collecting, more buyers out there if you're sellers, right? And more sellers if you're a buyer. So I think there's a lot of advantages to getting more people into the hobby, especially the youngsters. I think that's the cool part about it. Now, we both have kids, very interested in cards. I think they're not only interested in collecting the people they like, but they'd like to make a little bit of a profit too. And that's the thrill of opening packs and saying, boy, I got the case hit in this one, or here's a parallel that's super rare. So they get it, and I think they're going to come up in a different way than you and I did, definitely. But more the merrier in the hobby. I'm a fan of it.
For sure, yeah, and that's I remember getting into the hobby in the '80s, and I got into the hobby. I remember my friend's mom said, I heard this card sold for $75,000, and that was the Honus Wagner in the 80s.
Yeah, right.
And that was like, everybody looked at that and said, well, maybe I can have a $75,000 card.
If only we would have bought that back then for $75,000. Come on, Mom.
Right.
Oh, man.
So the flip game and that profit has always been a motivator. And obviously, when you're 10 years old and you're buying baseball cards, maybe it's because you love baseball. But I think,
right.
We can all love baseball without buying baseball cards. I think it's been something that it's definitely a motivator at some level for just about everyone. Even if you go to the guy who says, I'm just a collector, I can guarantee you if that person shows you the collection, they're going to show you their best card, and the next thing out of their mouth is going to be what it's worth. So,
yep, right, exactly.
Don't
let them fool you.
Right, exactly.
All right, so let's start dissecting the set. How about that? Let's talk some horizontal football cards, because that's what we're here to talk about. The old 90 or the 85 Topps. There it is. There's a couple that we picked from the set. Now, when you look at these, I mean, what a design, what a ballsy move by Topps, right? I mean, going first of all horizontal, going big letters, black border. That's why we picked this. This was such a unique look that it just caught your eye, because when you look at the set, right, there's nobody really in it that is big time rookie. The only big time rookie there is the guy up in the upper left, and that's really not technically his rookie card. I mean, didn't he have one in the USHL or USFL? USFL, right?
Yeah, he played in the Canadian Football League.
Canadian Football League. Where the hell he played? Yeah, he played in the Canadian Football League.
He was a guy that played for the University of Washington, was a lights out quarterback at the University of Washington. But at that time, it was just a time in our history where people just didn't think you could be successful with a black quarterback. Nobody wanted him, even though he had just won a ton of games and had just crazy numbers, and went to the Canadian Football League and did the same thing. And
Edmonton Eskimos, I think, right? Did he play for the Eskimos? I don't know.
I don't know, but finally got his chance, and of course did very well with his chance in the NFL.
Yeah, no kidding. So tell me again. Now we can get into it a little bit. This 85 set, you and I both looked at it. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about that one. Here we are, episode 3. We're talking about it. What was it about this set for you?
It's the black borders, and I think it's also the big bold letters in the name, and it's a horizontal design, but then all the lettering on it is set up for vertical. So somebody kind of crazy put that together that way. But I think those black borders, and it's something that Topps did. The last time they made a football card set with black borders was 20 years earlier. So it was kind of something that they did that was a little bit crazy, but like you said, it didn't have that rookie punch to it. I think the other notable rookies in the set, I think there was actually 3 other Hall of Famers, but they're more regional type stars. You got Richard Dent, I think Steve McMichael was in there, and Mike Munchak. That was the 4 Hall of Fame rookies in that set. So not a bunch of household names there, but super cool design. 396 card set, but I think that black border is really the thing that, when people see it, they know what it is. That's the 85 set,
And you mentioned it too. 1985 was such a good year for football, right? I mentioned we had the Marino and Elway coming off their rookie years. You had a lot of really good talent. Quarterback play was starting to become really, really iconic, if you will. And so people were paying attention to the sport. People were paying attention to the players in the sport. So we were talking about the moon. There's the Marino. The Marino is actually the most graded card in the set. Elway, Montana, Warren Moon was the second most. Montana was the third. Elway was the fourth. Walter Payton was the fifth. And then look at that. We got to talk about this. Leave this one up for a second. So this is also what made 85, right, so cool. Was the Bears won the Super Bowl. They were awesome that year. And anybody who grew up in the 80s, and you and I were, 9, 10 years old at this time, and the Bears were the coolest thing going. You had the punky QB known as McMahon doing the Super Bowl shuffle. You had Walter Payton sweetness. You had Willie, world-class speed Galt. You had, who you mentioned, Richard Dent, Singletary, and then you had the coach, right? You had Ditka. Like, they were the coolest team around. And so when I think of the 1985 Topps set, I think of that team, and those two together just make this such a memorable set.
Yeah, you left out the fridge too.
Oh, the fridge.
The fridge was another guy.
He wasn't in this set, right? Because he was a rookie.
Not in this set. 86
right.
was his
86, right.
Card. But this was his rookie year. So he was in this. He was a big part of that team as well. And again, I grew up just outside of Chicago, so it was really a big deal for us. And they went into that December Monday Night Football game against the Dolphins. They were 12-0. McMahon was not playing that night, so he missed.
Who was the quarterback then?
I couldn't tell you. I know that they had drafted they didn't draft Tom Zach, but I know Tom Zach had come in as an undrafted free agent that year. But I really don't know who played quarterback that
I
night.
want to find out for us. Who played in the 1985 Chicago Bears versus Miami? All right. Because that was the only game they lost that year, right?
That was the only game they lost. And put that in your Google machine and see what you come up with.
So it looks like December 2nd, 1985.
Correct.
That was when the game was played.
You got it.
So we're going to find out who. It looks like McMahon did play. Steve Fuller.
Steve Fuller.
So it looks like McMahon and Fuller played.
Well, maybe McMahon was injured during the game.
Maybe, something like that. But anyway, there you go.
Either way, I think that injury may have happened pretty early. But it's interesting that Marino and the Dolphins are the ones who preserved the 74 Dolphins' place in history as the only undefeated Super Bowl champion. Very interesting that happened. But actually, what I found in my research, and I didn't realize this, but what's even more interesting to me is the Week 6 matchup for the Bears. They took on the San Francisco 49ers. Okay. And the Niners the year before obviously had beaten Marino and the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. And that's what you always hear when you hear about that Super Bowl is, the Dolphins lose and everybody's like, don't worry about it, Marino, you're going back.
Right. Absolutely.
Back. But what gets lost in that story is that the Niners were 15-1 that year as well. There's actually only been 2 Super Bowl champions that went 15-1 in the regular season. That's the 85 Bears and the 84 Niners. So this was 2 powerhouse teams that played each other in Week 6. The Bears kind of dominated that game. They won 26-10. But another interesting side note that you'll hear more about with this team, but in that game, that was the first game that William Refrigerator Perry lined up in the backfield.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of Mike Ditka throwing it at Bill Walsh because Bill Walsh in that championship game in 84 had played Guy McIntyre, who was an offensive line as a fullback. And I think Ditka took notes on that and threw it back at him in Week 6 with the Fridge. And then, of course, in the Super Bowl that year, the Fridge scored the rushing touchdown, and Walter Payton never got that opportunity to do that.
I know. That was the craziest part of that Super Bowl. Payton never scored. They scored, 46? It was 46-10 or something?
I think it was 56-10.
56-10, even worse. Yeah, right. I think you're right. And Payton never got in there.
Payton never got in there. The Patriots really built their entire game plan around kind of stopping Walter. Walter didn't have that great of a game. Right. McMahon ended up scoring a rushing touchdown, and the Fridge scored a rushing touchdown. But another kind of interesting side note about that Week 6 game of the Niners, they beat them. They knocked off the Niners that had been the Super Bowl champion 15-1 the year before. But Ditka, when they got back to Chicago after that game, was arrested for DWI. And that made me
after Week 6? After Week 6? Okay.
Yeah. That happens in a 2022 world. Maybe he doesn't even get to coach the rest of the season. Who knows? He certainly would have been suspended. But he was arrested for DWI when he got back to Chicago from that game. But it was also the last win the Bears had in Candlestick Park and the last time they would win in San Francisco until 2014.
Wow.
Pretty cool stuff. But again,
it just makes that 85 again. It makes that 85 year and the set just that much cooler when you start looking at all the backstories behind it.
For sure, a lot of interesting stuff, and just I don't know. I think you look at these black bordered cards and they just pop. But I know you're the guy that likes to talk about PSA stuff.
I do. I just have some things from the Pop Report that I want to talk about. But before we do that, if you could shuffle through these cards, you see the record breaker ones. Those are the only cards where the guys are actually playing the game of football.
Right.
That was and I went back and I looked at all of the 80s football. They're all like guys on the sideline. So you saw the one with Elway with the messy hair. You see Dan Marino waiting to get into the game. Guys, the Marcus Allen with his chin strap unstrapped. Like this, you know, the headshots, like these were the things that Topps did. They had guys probably roaming the sidelines and just go get close up of these guys and don't worry about the actual action plays. And like I said, I thought this was something new, but then I go back and I look at that. That's what Topps did. They didn't go for the action. They didn't go for the action, and they had those inserts, like we were seeing with the record breakers, that were the in game, you know, where the guys are actually playing the sport. So I found that interesting when you go back through the archives, and that was Topps's game. Let's just get the guys on the sideline. Let's get these close pictures, and that's what's gonna make these cards.
Yeah, that was actually one of my points for tonight, was how horrible the photography was. And it like you said, it was throughout. And, you know, I'm a big John Elway fan. And to this day, I only own one John Elway rookie because I just think it's a hideous picture. He has this look on his face like he's mad, and he's kind of pointing at it. It's not an attractive card whatsoever.
No, it's not. Yeah, and him and Marino have the same rookie year, and Marino's is awful too. Right. Marino's basically the same card here, only just a little bit wider. Like this card of Elway, like, thanks a lot, John Elway. You know, come on, dude, I can throw the ball 75 yards from my knees. At least like Montana's warming up here, but yeah, I don't know. It's the photography is just, you know, it sometimes makes or breaks a card. You and I have talked about this before too. You know, the cards are art, and when there's a great picture of somebody doing something, you pay attention to it. You want it. I think back some of the cards that I own that the Andre Rison card, there's one of him that was like an air card, but the guy's jumping, he's doing the splits and spiking the ball. I mean, like, that gets your attention, right? You get cards like that. Basketball cards, for instance, now you have John Morant cocking back a dunk, and they capture it and they put it on a card. It's like, I want that card. I love the look of it. It catches in a moment. And that's the thing that I think sports cards have come to realize is, you know, if we can catch someone in action, that's going to be so much more interesting than what you're seeing with these Topps cards. Now, it's a little bit more challenging, right? You probably have to hire real photographers that know how to capture real action sports, and not just, hey, go get me a couple of headshots from the sidelines, Bill. And Bill's over there like, okay, and he's getting a little camera. It's, you know, I could see him, you know, cranking it over like one of those disposable cameras, but you know, that's kind of what it looked like, and people just accepted it because we didn't know any better.
And I think that, and this is a set that we'll talk about at some point, the '89 Pro set. I mean, that was a set that was, you know, Pro set always talked about being is in conjunction with the NFL. If you look at a lot of the photos and the cards, they came from Getty Images, so they had, you know, real photographers out there, and like you said, I think that these top sets in those days, they were a low budget set. I mean, we talked last week about the 80-81 Topps basketball set being a quarter for a pack. Well, these packs in the 85 were 10 cents.
No
10
kidding.
cents a pack for a 15-card pack. They had 28-card cello packs. Those cello card packs were 59 cents. And then they had two different types of rack packs. The standard rack had 48 cards with one of the red NFL star cards, and I can show you kind of what that looked like. And honestly, I had never really seen one of those, and I started looking into this. I'm like, what are those red? And I think it would be halfway rare because the only place they came in were the standard rack packs. So that's the
Marino kind of that first card right on top. I remember those.
So there was 11 different cards of that one. But then they had a grocery rack that had 42 cards and a stick of gum. Instead of getting the cool red card, you got a stick of gum.
I'll have to check. Those didn't really pop up on the pop report, so I'll have to check and see again. But yeah, you're right. I mean, those were obviously, you know, one of those true short prints, if you will, you know, before there were, you know, short prints were introduced, which I know you and I both really love those. We call them frisky low pops. I don't know if we use the term frisky low pops on the podcast, but you know, those are the frisky ones that people start paying attention to. And when you talk about the low pops of these cards, it's not that they weren't graded much. It's just the high grades in these cards, nearly impossible.
Right.
Like we're talking, I told you Marino's card was the number one graded card here. It has about 4,000, just under 4,000. There are 41 10s. Like that's such a small percentage. And then the Warren Moon, which has just over 3,800, that has 86 10s. The Montana has 56 10s. I mean, we're talking, that lovely card of John Elway has 20 10s. The Walter Payton, just 15. And these cards have all been graded anywhere between 1,600 and 4,000 times. And you look at them and you go, there's no way a 1985 Topps football card is going to grade out to 10, because those corners in the card stock always felt a little soft. The corners are dinged. You're going to get the flaking. It's just centering is never going to be perfect. Finding those true gems, that's really hard with this set. If we talked about that last week with the 80 basketball, that was a tough one. This is almost even tougher because of that black border. It's that black border, and it's it just caused all kinds of hell for anybody who's trying to get that in a perfect grade. Just hard to do.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about later is pop reports on these modern cards, but that's a card that, if the pop report right now shows 20 10s, I mean, that's how many more of those are going to be found.
You're not going up from that.
Right. I mean,
you're not pulling that box you just showed, or if people, because I looked online, I was just wondering, I was like, hey, is there any cello packs and that sort of thing? And yeah, there's some out there on eBay, of course. People still have some of those for sale, but you're not going to pull a 10 out of a pack or a cello. Not at this point. Like, how did those hold up? It would be interesting to see, pulling some of those cards out today, what you're looking at. Because I think the pop reports are going to stay about the same. You're not going to pull anything new that's going to be in that 10. Even the 9 range, the most frequent grade or the highest grade is an 8. So you're not, even the 9s are rare. So I think that's it. Again, it just shows the design of the card is it's just so difficult to get that good grade. And I think that was what's frustrating with these cards. This set is it was hard. And you start seeing these cards pop up every once in a while, and you look at them and go, that's not even probably a 7 or a 6 even, because it's just so challenging to hit that.
Yeah, with everything where it comes to the chipping on the black and the spacing, I mean, there's just no way that you're going to, I mean, even if it doubles, let's just say for some crazy reason it doubles, you're still only talking about 40 cards that are 10s.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be so rare to find those. Especially right now, we're obviously kind of on the back end of this high point, but non-wrap wax boxes selling for about $500. Wrapped X-out boxes, those are the boxes that came back from a dealer, didn't sell. Those wrapped right now $600 to $700. Wrapped non-X-out boxes going for $900 to $1,000, and rack packs. Just a rack pack, $30 to $50 a piece.
Yes, and that's what I was discovering. That's about the cost of it. I couldn't bring myself to, even for a reveal on this show, I couldn't even come to pay $30 for something like that I know I'm doing just for a novelty. It's just, I'm me, Chris, I'm way too frugal to drop $30 on a cello pack that I know I'm not going to get a gem mint card out of. So I passed on that, and I figured I'd just talk about it and send you pictures of what the cards look like. Because you're not going to see many cards pop out today that are even close to those 9s or 10s. And that's too bad. I do like seeing those cards come out and, maybe it's a 10. Maybe it's a 10. Boy, those hold up well. Maybe they do, but just don't see it with this pack.
Not with this set. And honestly, like with everything that's happened with grading cards over the last year, I've really gone back to enjoying the raw end of collecting. And this is going to be one of those sets that if you want to get involved in it, that's probably how you're going to get involved in it is just collecting the raw cards.
And you can get the raw cards on eBay relatively cheap. Those are the cards that are, I was looking at some of the cards there. I mean, we're talking a couple bucks, $3, $4, $5. But again, if you're looking to get these graded and spend the money to get them graded, it's probably not going to be worth your time or money. But for the raw cards, and if you want to just grab these and just hold on to them, and I think you could probably build this set for relatively cheap, ungraded. But again, you have to find the cards in the commons, and if you want to do that, you can buy those boxes. But for the stars, you can find them relatively cheap on eBay. And we were talking about some of the rookies: Mike Munchak, Richard Dent. Let's see, Joe Morrison, Kenny O'Brien, Irvin Fryer, Mark Clayton, Lewis Lips, Henry Ellard, and the other Super Bowl quarterback from that year. I didn't realize Tony Eason was a quarterback. Now, was it Steve Grogan or Tony Eason? I can't remember. I thought Grogan started that game and played. But Eason must have played some during that season for the Patriots.
Yeah, I think Eason got hurt, and Grogan.
Is that what it was?
Filling in for him.
Okay. I couldn't remember which one got hurt and which one was the starter and whatnot. But I thought it was Grogan who got the start in the Super Bowl.
My 85 Patriots history is kind of foggy at this point.
I think all my history from 85 is a little bit foggy. The Patriots are way back there in the old dome. So, but I think, but Eason definitely was a thing for the Patriots during that season, and he was a rookie that year. And again, not the big names, but just a cool card. I think a lot of collectors would agree. And for people of our age, I think this was right about the time when card collecting was in its high point. Because you look back, if you look at its cousin collection, the 85 Topps, like that was a behemoth as well. You had Doc Gooden, you had Kirby Puckett. So a lot of kids were collecting baseball cards, and if they couldn't get baseball cards, they were collecting football cards, and some people were collecting both. And I think that's what made this year special as well. I think, when you put the two sports together, because basketball wasn't really around, 86 Fleer came a year later, but that 85 baseball and that 85 football, it was a good time to be a collector. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it was right before the bottom fell out, the junk wax era started. And I think when most people think about junk wax and football, I think that 88 set is kind of halfway there. And then I think at 89 is when you can really start picking up boxes pretty cheap. But this is kind of right before that started, at least in the football end of things, probably 86 or 87 for baseball. So,
yeah. Well, I think we've done pretty much all we can with this set. Another good dissection. Unless you got anything else, we can talk a little bit more about junk wax era, the return of.
Right. Yeah, that's what I got for the 85 football sets.
Yeah, me too.
We did a pretty good job with that, getting that out there. And again, just one of those kind of nostalgic type of sets, nothing crazy. And if it's something that you're interested in going out and putting a set together of this, you can do it pretty inexpensively, especially if you're not looking for, mint type of cards. You can pick them up pretty inexpensively and have this kind of cool season for the NFL.
Yeah, I think we've put a bow on that one. We usually end our show with the what surprised you this week. You and I went back and forth a little bit today, and we both were surprised by the same thing. It is, want to tell them what we were surprised by?
Yeah, Wander Franco, 2022 Topps Series 1. We actually kind of have a few different things to say about this, but PSA put this card up, 2 or 3 days ago, saying this is the first one that was a PSA 10. Obviously, whoever owned it put in the $300 to get the Super Express, get it done right away. Came back at 10, which is interesting, I think. But what I wanted to ask you about, and you're the guy that likes to talk about investment and flipping and this kind of stuff. So they got the card probably pretty inexpensively. You can buy a hobby box of Topps for maybe $125. They spent $300 to get it graded. And that card this evening on February.
Did you see how much it sold for? Are you going to tell us?
Yeah, sold for $2,075. So even if he sent maybe 3 of them in and hoped for 110, and I don't think he did because there's no other graded Wander Franco.
It's the only one out there. Pop one.
The guy made
for now.
Yeah, exactly. The guy made easily $1,500. But again, that pop report's going to go nuts in the next 6 months. There's probably going to be tens of thousands of them.
Yes.
But is that a good strategy, Mr. Matt? Is that something you go out and buy the product when it first comes out, send it express, try to get that 10 and flip it immediately? So is that something that maybe people will try to replicate? Because obviously this one worked pretty well for this guy.
It did. Here's my thoughts. I'm going to put my cynical hat on real quick. So you and I don't talk about what surprised us this week until we get on the show. But then we realized today we were going to talk about the same thing. So my question to you was, what's more surprising? The fact that someone would pay that high a grading cost to get it back that quickly, or that somebody would spend $2,000? So basically you're asking me the same question in a little bit different way. Is it a good strategy? Well, I will tell you this. I saw the same thing happen with the Mac Jones rated rookie, his first card in a Patriots jersey. Somebody got that express, got it at 10, and it was selling for anywhere between $600 and $900. That's probably about a $150 card, maybe $250 if you want to, speculate that Mac Jones is going to be the, next Tom Brady in New England. So is it a good strategy? I would say yes. It has proven to be a good strategy. Does it have staying power to do this if you tried to do this all the time? I think you're probably going to lose out more than you're going to win. Partially because you might get a 9 back, and now your card is completely, your plan is completely worthless. Second of all, if you've thought of it, that tells me that somebody else has already thought about it. So you're probably behind the curve. But here, okay, I'm going to put my cynical hat back on here. The fact that PSA publicized this so much, knowing that the comments were going to be so negative towards this one card, tells me, is this a PR move by Topps and PSA? This card got so much attention that it made me think, are we getting the wool pulled over our eyes here? Are we being hornswoggled by PSA and Topps to try and buzz up some, positive PR for this set? What do you think?
Very well could be. There's a lot of people online that saw the card that thought it was off center. I
didn't take a close enough look at it, so I'd have to go back and look at it whether it's a 10 or not. But I just saw the buzz, and it got me thinking again. I work in public relations. I know how to spin things, and it felt like it was on Spin Cycle. Yeah. And then it selling for over $2,000. The reason we're talking about this, if you haven't heard, there's going to be over 700,000 of this exact card produced. Right. So the population of one right now will probably be population in a modern era, ultra modern era. What do you think of percentage? I would guess there's going to be over 20 to 50, how many, 1,000 tens? If there's going to be over 7, like bottom line is there's going to be so many tens of this card's going to be worth about $100.
That's exactly right. And that's what I was going to say. The person who bought this for $2,000, in months, it's going to be $100 to $200. If they don't play baseball, it may be even less than that. Yes. Or if he comes out and has a stinker of a season, it's going to be less than that. So what is the purpose of buying this card unless you?
I have no idea. That's what I'm like. It's head scratching. Is it valuable to have the first graded card in 2 years? I don't think it does. Right? That there's no reason to have the first off the grading table. I'm a little bit baffled by this, but I think it's a PR move. That's just my opinion. I think, and I don't know who bought it. I don't know who got it graded, but I sure do know that PSA really put that out there this week.
Right.
I was here for the comments. Let's just put it that way. I got my popcorn ready, and I was here for the comments. And everybody was saying what we were like, yeah. What's so special about this card again? Because I have 7 of them already. It's
exactly.
Like, but no, when doing the research for this, there's a guy on YouTube named Scotty B. Has Scotty B Cards. Really good. He did an in-depth look at this specific card, and he ran the numbers. He's like, there's going to be 728,000 cards of each card in this set. So he's like, the junk wax era is back, baby. And so that's just of the base card. And now there's going to be cool parallels that pop up because that's what, the new cards all have. So there's going to be neat things like that. But 728,000 of these cards, yeah, I don't get it. I don't think it's something you want to replicate. I think, you and I both know, Chris, it's about finding the cards that you like, that you think are good investments, and pay attention to the pop report on this one. I'm really interested. We should be we'll follow it. Let's just look at it that way. It might be pop 1 right now, but each week as it goes by, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people sending it in for 300 at this point. I think that's a bold strategy, but it clearly paid off. This person got at least 2,000 back, but we don't know how many he sent in, like you said, or she. There's women in the hobby too. I don't want to think that there's not here, but it could be whoever did, right? Whoever did. We don't know what they sent in, how many cards, what they paid. We think 300, right? Or maybe it was 600. I mean, there's that walkthrough, so yep. we don't know that either. But bold strategy. I don't endorse it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick to my cards that I like and send in a card for 50 here or there that I think have, some good investment and long-term strategy, not that short-term pop.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people are going to look at that and go, I'm going to try that. And I think that strategy is probably going to get crushed here, probably this year, as more people see that and go, oh, let's give that a swing. And then some people are going to lose on it, and then that'll be it. But it was very interesting, and it was something that was a little bit surprising. And the comments on the Facebook page, again, it was you're sitting next to Michael Jackson hitting that popcorn in the comments.
And a lot of people in the hobby talked about it. Like I said, I mean, that Scotty B Cards spent a whole YouTube segment talking about it. And so I think there's a lot of people in the hobby. I think this Wander Franco, I think this guy has captured a lot of people's attention, and which is great for baseball if he ever gets on the field, for crying out loud. It's kind of like the Jason Dominguez card from a couple years ago. Everybody's, buzzing about something. And I think that's, I think partially some of that's manufactured. I think Topps probably does a good job with PR, and, let's find the guy, let's get some buzz, and let's milk that cow till it doesn't have any milk left. And, now people have moved on to Wander Franco. And I think what's going to be cool to watch from that set, I know you and I have talked about possibly breaking down that set coming up, is all the parallels, right? That are coming out of that set. And so that's what I'm going to be watching from that set, that and the pop report of the base card. But really cool parallels coming out of that card, out of that set. And hopefully I can get my hands on a box to rip, because I think there's a lot of designs that you and I are going to look at and really enjoy, because they're throwbacks to when we were the young collectors. So excited to get my hands on the box. And, I don't want to move off this too quickly unless you have something to say, but speaking of, wax, Target continues, target.com. You and I talked about it today. They still have things online. They're popping with their product. I know it's taken some time, but today they had Rookies and Stars football blaster boxes pop online, and they have hanger boxes too. So I get excited when I see new products pop on Target, and I always buy it regardless of what it is, a couple boxes that I kind of, snake away and want to feel like I have a piece of memorabilia that I can go open when, I want to rip something. So I bought some of the Rookies and Stars blasters, and Chris, you gave me the heads up too. The NBA hoops blaster boxes are there. I just love the fact we can get wax again. And that gets me excited. And, whenever something new pops on a Target, like I said, I usually buy something. And so I appreciate you giving me the heads up, because I end up spending money when that happens. And excited to see what those Rookies and Stars look like. They were cool cards last year. Not a lot of value to them. I mean, they were pretty, they were the low cost kind of set from last year, but you got a lot of rookies. You got a lot of parallels. But it's interesting because I told my son, who's into collecting, I said, hey, I got 5 of these boxes coming. He looked at him and goes, those are kind of boring to rip last year. I'm like, dude, thanks for nothing. I'm going to snake these away then. You're not going to open these.
Yeah, so, he doesn't get one.
He doesn't get one. You don't like them, you don't get them. But He's right, though. I mean, they were cards that weren't, the high-end prisms or the optics or the Donruss rated rookies. But still, they were fun to rip, and I'm just always excited for the hobby when you can go on Target.com and get something at retail and don't have to go to the secondary market on eBay. And I know when they arrive, my son's going to say, can I rip a box? And I might have to let him.
Might have to let
him do it. But again, it's going to be awesome to see Trevor Lawrence. I know the season's over, but we're going to see him in a Jags uniform. We're going to see Justin Fields in a Bears uniform. These are new cards. This is awesome. We're going to see new memorabilia cards and auto cards and parallel cards. That gets me excited. I enjoy that about the hobby.
For sure. And what I like about that Hoops blaster box, and this is something like I really enjoy the Chronicles sets. And the Chronicles this year, I think you got 4 packs in a box. Yes. There's like 5 cards in each pack. You're getting 20 cards in the box. Well, with the hoops that's coming out here, that's on Target.com right now as we speak, 11 packs, 8 cards a pack.
Yeah, how about that?
88 cards in a box.
And it's $25. That's
a lot of fun.
It's $25. Yeah, you're not looking at breaking the bank. And I love the fact, and I think the Rookies and Stars blaster box has 72 cards in it. Right. So, I mean, they're starting to increase the number of cards. And again, I love that. I love that about the hobby. I'm glad to see that they're back. I'm glad that people aren't camping out at Target, and you're starting to see those in the wild too, right? We're starting to see those cards pop into, you see if you follow anybody on TikTok or, even on YouTube, there's restocks happening at Walmart and Target. I have not stumbled upon any, not in my local Targets or Walmarts, but just the fact that they're online again, it gets me excited about. It gets me excited about the hobby and just being able to afford that wax again. That, like I said, board night, let's go rip a box. Let's see what we find. Are we going to find a card that we're going to probably get graded? No, but it's just fun to rip wax, and I think that's what keeps people interested in the hobby. So I was intrigued and excited and surprised a little bit by the new product that popped up on Target.com today.
I stopped by Target this last weekend, and I walk in and I see the boxes that the fat packs come in. A few of those on the shelf. I'm like, what is in there? And as I'm getting closer, I see the Donruss logo, and my heart sinks. I'm like, here we go. We're gonna get some Donruss football. And I go up there, and it's Donruss
F1.
Donruss soccer.
Oh, soccer. Either auto racing or soccer. Yeah. Yeah, those are harder to find, right? Like there's certain products that's going to be harder to find, and I think those Rookies and Stars and the Chronicles, those lasted a while, but eventually they sell out because there's people like me who just like to rip $25 boxes of wax. So, well, that's all I got. That's all I got for this week. This was a good show. I enjoyed the 85 talk. We're definitely reminiscing about the Chicago Bears. The punky QB known as McMahon. And, we didn't even mention Kevin Butler.
Kevin Butler was a rookie that year as well.
Murray Buford was the punter on that team. And, Matt Suey and gosh, we go on and on. That 85 Bears team was so cool. But, this was fun. We'll have to figure out what we want to talk about next week for our set. But we hope you enjoyed it as well at home and listening to this on the podcast. And we'd love to hear your comments. We've had a couple comments here and there. And, we'd love to hear what you guys are talking about, what you're thinking about. And, maybe we can help take a trip down memory lane for you. So if there's a set you want us to dissect, we'll take it into consideration. We're not going to say we're going to do it because we might not know about the set or we might not like your recommendation. How about that?
Yeah, we may not like it. I actually think I have it mapped out on our list, and certainly we can change. But I think with so much talk around this Wander Franco card and so much going on with the 2022 Topps, and you're interested in the parallels, and I'm interested in the parallels. So I think our next show we should do 2022 Topps. We've been doing all these, kind of 80s and 90s sets. So let's dive into something new. So next show,
there you go.
Let's do 2022 Topps Series 1 baseball. Thanks so much for listening and watching.
Decision has been made.
Drop the hammer, baby. We're doing it. We'll talk to you guys next time.